the Indonesian national team. This is, for me, probably Asia's next big team. I mean, with just how they've been playing recently in the Asian qualifiers, it begs the question, will Indonesia finally qualify for a FIFA World Cup? Yo, what is going on, my people? 299 back with another video, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing the topic of this upcoming Indonesian national team that has just looked so good in the Asian qualifiers. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe as well. Please subscribe, it helps a lot. Join all my social medias, you know, my X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, all those links will be down in the description down below. And without further ado, let's get started. So this video is kind of made in the wake of Indonesia beating Saudi Arabia 2-0. Saudi Arabia, we're talking one of the bigs of Asian football. They're not doing well themselves, but Indonesia, for them to win with the way that they won against Saudi Arabia is just so commendable. Marcelino Ferdinand, this guy decided to drop the biggest masterclass in football history, casually dropped a cold ass celebration as well. I mean, so cold. What a player. Plays for Oxford United of all teams. Like Oxford United, we're talking about an Oxford United that plays in the championship, right? And if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't really get lots of playing time for Oxford United, and that's something Indonesian fans are not really happy about. But I think that's probably about to change with how good he has been. Now, if you look at the recent results, I mean, they haven't been the best everywhere, but for instance, you know, they drew 1-1 to Saudi Arabia in their first game. Like, they're done with Saudi Arabia. They have a positive record against Saudi Arabia. They haven't lost against them. A 1-1 draw against Saudi Arabia. Okay, maybe it could be a fluke, something like that. Boom, they play Australia. They also draw 0-0 with Australia. You're already getting points out of two massive Asian teams. Well, Australia is not technically an Asian team, but you know what I mean. And you're like, okay, well, how long can they continue this? Bahrain, 2-2 again, so they get another point. It begs the question, you know, 3 points out of 3 games, it's not the best on paper, but considering they played against both Saudi Arabia and Australia, it's huge. They lose against China 2-1, which it could have been a game that you know, they could have gotten something out of it, but China, despite also them not really being in good form, they played well in that game. And then, you know, you're playing Japan, which is considered as the best Asian team at the moment. They lost 4-0, but that's to be expected. But then you're playing Saudi Arabia again at home, and you win 2-0 in such a great fashion. And Saudi Arabia looked so dead. They didn't look like they want to be there. They couldn't finish their chances. Indonesia on the other side were incredible. I mean, yes, Saudi Arabia had a lot more shots, a lot more possession, but that was to be expected. But in terms of shots on target or big chances and all that, Indonesia were dominant. You know what's the worst part is, I mean, Indonesia, I think they got a red card towards the end of the game. I mean, it doesn't really change anything because it was really late into the game. It's not like Saudi Arabia would have kind of, you know, come back into the game. But nevertheless, this begs the question, right? They've got Australia that they've already got a drawn out of, that if they played the way that they played against Saudi Arabia, I think they could even win against Australia. Because Australia and Saudi Arabia have been, with all due respect, horrible. They've been not there at all. If you follow a little bit of Asian football, or at least the World Cup qualifiers, you'd know what I mean. They can win that. They can win against Bahrain. They can win against China. The only big game that they're going to struggle with is Japan. But fortunately for Indonesia, that's the last game. They have the chance to qualify before that if everything goes well for them. So if they do take these next windows, the March window and the June window, seriously, we can see an Indonesian team at the World Cup. And I hope that happens because they deserve it. They actually put a lot of time and effort into their football. This is where I'm going to, you know, come in to talk about. They've done so good in terms of naturalization of players. Like, I'm sure some people can recognize Jordi Amat. He used to be Spanish. You guys know who Jordi Amat was? He used to play for Swansea City. Yeah, he plays for the Indonesian national team because he got naturalized, you know. And it's they're now going for dual nationals. And if you look at their team, they're mostly naturalized / dual national players, which isn't a bad thing. But I've seen some people complain that maybe it's not the best because they're not able to produce local talent. But I feel like they can kind of focus on that later on. Now's not really the time. I mean, you're doing so well in the Asian qualifiers, and perhaps that'll be, you know, something to watch out for. You know, they've got a lot of players that not everyone really knows. Like I said, Marcelino Ferdinand is is one of the big ones. Jordi Amat, Sandy Walsh, the keeper Martin Paes, plays in the MLS. You got a few players that like you kind of know, not the best in terms of like European prestige, but if you know a little bit about Asian football, you've probably heard of those players. One player I kind of want to turn my attention to is Eliano Reindeers. Reindeers might be a family name that you actually might recognize because of AC Milan midfielder Tijani Reindeers. He's also half Indonesian. I mean, yeah, he does play for the Netherlands, but begs the question, imagine Tijani Reindeers in this Indonesian national team. Obviously, it's never going to happen, but hypothetically, how sick would that be? Think about that for a second. You know, one of the best midfielders in the world at this current moment in time, no debate. I don't want to debate that. He's incredible. Imagine if he played with this Indonesian national team. What could have been? But obviously he got chosen by the Netherlands a while back. But yeah, his brother Eliano Reindeers, who plays for Zwolle in the Eredivisie, he plays for the Indonesian national team. And my point here is, we can see in Indonesia at a World Cup. It's definitely possible. And with that group, that, you know, there's like every team is on like 6 points except for Japan, who's like cruising with I think 16 points. It's funny, but it begs the question of like this World Cup Asian qualifying campaign or round is going to be special. The last thing I want to add is I think during the month of December they're going to be playing a few teams in the ASEAN region. You know, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, the Philippines. And begs the question, like, if they've played this well, they could go ahead and just win the whole thing, the whole championship. So that's something to look out for. That's going to be played in the month of December. And yeah, hopefully Indonesia makes it. You know, the best of luck to them. They deserve it. And that's it for this video. It's just a little rise on this Indonesian revolution in the world of football that they've been doing so well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to smash that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps me a lot. Join all my social medias. The links will be down in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.